evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raising Bulls, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network at BGN.FM and Roughneck Scarves. We're the only podcast dedicated to the New York Red Bulls 2 of USL. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of the craziest matches I think any of us have seen the New York Red Bulls 2 play. It's up there with that weird one from Orlando last year. We've got some news around the team to discuss, our typical ex-New York Red Bull 2 report. We've got Red Bull News Network's own Liam Pettit coming on to talk to us about that game and sort of his way of making it into journalism. And then we're going to preview the match against Ottawa and break down some news around the USL. Joining me tonight, I think he thinks he's the most hated man, and I've said it before, but he's such a gem and a nice and lovely person.
Oh, God damn it.
It's Anthony Merced. Hello, Anthony.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going very well. I'm working on your image. This is me trying to help.
You're working on my image.
That's me doing it, yep.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's see how it goes.
We shall see. How are you doing? How are things?
I'm doing good. I would do better if this time next year I can install an AC system in my new house.
Oh, man,
but until then, I am suffering in the heat, but that's okay. It reminds me of the 90s.
There you go. I guess that's something.
Summer of 94, all the way.
Yeah, that was a rough one. And, of course, joining me now, we've got Mr. Joe Steen. How are you doing, Joe?
Great. Weird game on Saturday, but I guess we'll take a point from that.
Yeah, that was an understatement. I labeled it as Crazy Town. Charleston jumps out to a 3-0 lead. We can talk about the defense in a little bit. It seems like all is lost. I think if you are a diehard New York Red Bulls 2 fan, you might have been bashing your head against the wall at that point. And the team storms back. They tie it up 3-3. Obviously, they're a man up at that point. Things look like they're going well. They drop another goal on a set piece. Down 4-3. They pull back again with only a few minutes left. And then Charleston seemingly wins it. The referee, it was unclear, I think, what he was pointing to or what he was saying when he blew the whistle. The Red Bulls take the kick from there. And then without actually blowing the final whistle, all of the referees leave the field as a fight breaks out. Only in USL, right? What the heck was that? Let's start, I guess, talking about the defense before we do anything else. Hassan and Dom is in a bad way right now. What is going on with him? Anyone who wants to take that, feel free. Nobody. See?
Yeah, I was about to talk.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There you go. See, look at you, just cutting me off. Like, oh, nobody wants to talk about the defense.
Wait. I have one more thing to say. No,
okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Wait.
Really?
Go ahead, Anthony.
This defense right now in 2018 is atrocious. And these past two games in particular have really showcased that. I don't know what it is about Hassan and Dom, because when he's confident and he is in a good mindset, he can be a good defender, not a great defender, but a good one. He, in these last two games, has shown his insecurity and been absolutely atrocious. So I don't know what this team needs to do to get him in the right mindset. I don't know if Escobar or whoever they tend to put next to him is just a bad partner. But I'm going to be positive here. I refuse to believe he's this bad. Yeah. I don't think he's great, but I refuse to believe that he's this bad. But he's going to have to prove that he isn't.
I think that he needs someone back there kind of marshaling things. I don't think he's the guy who can be the organizer, even though he's the veteran on the back line. And I think the games where he does well and the team has a lot of success defending, it's in those moments where he can just kind of sit back and do his job. And when he's when he's got more responsibility, things don't necessarily go as well. I don't know for sure that he's the one taking charge of the back line, but that from my reading of what's happening out there seems to be the case, especially when he's with younger guys like Wahab or Kevin Politz, that he tends to wander a lot more than if he was with Jordan or Fidel.
It's weird because the Bethlehem game, I believe, was it Bethlehem? That with Escobar, he looked great in that game.
Yeah.
And he had a really strong game. He was probably the best player and one of the best players on the field. And then they, against Louisville with Politz, they just looked horrible. And then, North Carolina, all right, yeah, I'll give them some leeway there. They went down a man and had to defend for basically the last 30 minutes. But against Charleston, these are just simple mistakes. I mean, high line, there's no communication. I mean, the third goal gets in alone, basically a breakaway. And just a lot of these goals. I mean, not marking on the second goal. The first goal, it was just a basic counterattack. But I mean, even the fourth goal, set pieces. I don't think this team's actually scored a goal from a set piece this year. I'd have to actually check that to make sure. Or no, I'm sorry, they have. I believe it was an own goal against Louisville. Or Cincinnati, I'm sorry. But they've given up so many set pieces. On set pieces, it just seems like they don't really defend that well at times.
And that's classic young team. Okay, another thing I want to talk about in this match, Anatole Bong. This is his second start with the two team. I just want to get general thoughts from you guys of what you think. I've been impressed with what we've seen, but obviously he's not getting any goals just yet. But he's showing a lot of signs that he could be an important player for either the first team as sort of a striker in waiting, or the main man on the two team.
He still has not learned how to stay on side.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that for sure.
It haunted him all those years ago, and even now, he's still a step in front of whoever's delivering the ball. And I don't know how much longer we can say, well, it has to do with the partnership. Obviously, there's a little bit of that has to go. Do you know the person that's giving you service in the midfield? But at this point, it just looks like he's taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, literally in the offense to try to stay on side, and almost always being 1 step too far forward. So maybe he's just not that guy that should be left up there by himself or the primary guy, so that he doesn't get caught offside, but they got to do something about that.
What I would like to see them do with him is to use him in sort of the way that Connor Casey used to play the role. Obviously, he wasn't exactly alone up top, but what they would have him do, and especially when he was at Philadelphia, is kind of be the guy to hold up play when you're clearing from dangerous situations in the back. He's got the size to do it, and he can absolutely play with his back to goal and then turn. So I would rather him kind of look to hold up play, bring other numbers into the attack, or just use his size. I don't think he needs to beat the back line with his speed in order to get opportunities. I think he can create them himself, but it's just a matter of maybe confidence and just repetition. Because remember, he hasn't really played too much.
Hold on. Before you go on, I agree with everything you just said. Mm-hmm. No one that is not our age here
knows who Connor Casey is.
Probably know who Connor Casey is.
Fair.
So you're going to have to explain Connor Casey here, because I loved Connor Casey. I love watching him, but I don't think there's a lot of people that do. So please explain who Connor Casey is.
You got to think of him as sort of a tank, as a striker. He was a very big guy. He was not particularly fast. I don't think he had a touch on the ball the way that Abang does. I think Abang is a much more skillful version of that type of player. But he's the kind of guy that is up there to sort of keep defenders honest, use his body to kind of knock them around, maybe make them think twice about the 50-50 challenges that they go into. But he was so good for Philadelphia at times when he was healthy, because that was towards the end of his career, at just winning the ball up top and then being patient to wait for whoever's going to join him. I think at the time it was probably Letou, and I can't remember who was on the other wing. I don't think it was Pontius yet. but he could wait for those numbers to get into the attack and give them the advantages, which was something that the Red Bulls 2 did really well at the end of last season with Stefano Bonomo, but obviously Abong is a much, much bigger body.
Well, I've been like his touch really impresses me. Like as far as like just his chest control alone, like I'm just like, wow, this guy just makes the ball just stop dead when he chests it. But they have like you mentioned, they have the guys on this team where he could just be that guy who plays towards his spectacle. I mean, Amanda Moreno now is healthy, which is good for them, and Jared Stroud has shown that he can score too. And you even take in consideration Jose Aganaga has actually played very well when he's been called upon in that outside role. So it's not like they don't have guys. I mean, I think they have, I want to say, like 4 guys above 5 goals this year. I think Tenari has like 7. I think because we even Tom Barlow could actually play out there because we've seen him do that too.
Yep.
I think Barlow has 7. Tenari has 7. Mondo has 8. And I think Jared has 4 or 5. So they have guys that can score for sure. And them using him like they used Stefano Bonomo last year can definitely be an asset for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, let's talk about the end of this match because, like we said, it was very, very bizarre. I've not ever seen the refs leave the field as quickly as they did in Charleston. I'm still not really even sure what made them leave so quickly. Do you guys have any idea what was going on there? Because there was not even any suspensions that came out of any of that.
I watched that game on mute, so I literally thought that Charleston had scored, and I was just like, I actually had a tweet typed out like saying, "This team is the most unlucky team I've ever seen on the road this season." Like the ability, like the fact that they've conceded so many late goals and lost so many points is just unbelievable. But then they took the goal off the board, and I said, "All right, what the heck's going on?" The refs left the field. I'm like, "All right, what's going on now?" Like I had no idea because the game was on mute because I was doing something.
I'm convinced their radios must have been out or something because somebody said, "All right, guys, the game's over," and one referee heard it, and then the other ones didn't because the linesman, or I don't know if it's a linesman or the fourth official, just starts randomly running across the field.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, I guess the game's over."
They all took off running, which is the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen in this league, or maybe any league, just to see the referees bolt like that while the teams are fighting. Very, very
also,
weird.
why do weird things like this happen in soccer? I don't understand how, like, there's so many other sports like rugby or NFL, and I use those in particular because there's so many people on the field, and we never see this happen. But, like, in soccer, there's all these, like, random, like, referees mistake people, or they just decide the game's over, but no one communicates with anybody at all. It's like, what is happening?
There are weird things in other sports, but it definitely feels like there's more in soccer, and I have no answer for that. It's very weird. Okay, let's talk man of the match. Who you got?
It has to be Tom Barlow. Comes off the bench, scores 3 goals. All 3 of them were very well taken. I mean, both headers were, especially the header, the second goal where it was deflected and he was still able to get his head on it. And just a huge impact. And it was really good to see because he's been, like, he coming off of, a broken nose and, with Abong coming in, like, he's kind of still trying to, it's not much different for him than it was when Brian White was there. He's still trying to find time.
Yeah. There's some major Douglas Martinez, Stefano Bonomo vibes happening there, where they really wanted Martinez to be the guy, but Bonomo stepped up so big when Brandon got traded. So maybe there's something like that happening here. Anthony, who do you got?
I agree, Tom Barlow. You can't score 2 goals and not get that honor. He was the best part of the game.
I am about to shock everyone because my man of the match is also Tom Barlow. I agree. I don't remember the last time I agreed with everybody about the man of the match. Maybe it happens more than I realize, but I think this is the first time that Anthony, Joe, and I have agreed.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, let's talk some news. Speaking of Tom Barlow, he makes the he makes the team of the week, but he's also the USL Player of the Week. So congratulations there. I don't think we need to really go over again why he is in that position, but it is really nice to see basically a fringe player making such a big impact.
Is that the first time a Red Bull 2 player has won Player of the Week ever?
No, I believe earlier this season, Brian White also won, but I could be wrong about that. And I know for sure Brandon won when he was here.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing we should talk about heading into the next match, I guess we can cover that during the Charleston preview, or not the Charleston preview, the Ottawa preview, but Andrew Tinari, such an important part of the midfield. One more yellow card from him, and he will be suspended for a match. And with the standings the way they are, that could be a very costly suspension for them. Do you see Tinari being able to do essentially what Felipe used to be so good at, which is get close to that suspension, but be able to restrain himself and keep from getting any more yellow cards?
I honestly haven't seen how he's picked up a lot of his yellows this year. I mean, because he's playing a different position, so I mean, I don't know if he's picked up a couple for dissent or because I don't know. I'm not really. I know he's picked up a couple for dissent this year. I'm trying to think, but
I think a lot of it has been trying to like stop plays from developing.
Yeah,
just taking sort of professional fouls.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. They need him down the stretch, big time.
Yeah. Anthony.
Yeah, it's USL's a little bit more of a weird beast when it comes to fouls and things of that nature. So it doesn't surprise me that he's on the brink because of all the midweek games and more minutes, especially a guy like Tinari. So yeah, he's gonna suffer a suspension pretty soon. But I don't think it's gonna be as much of an issue. This team has to learn how to survive without that, without a guy like him if they want to succeed long term.
Yeah, agree. Okay, and then the last bit of news before we do our ex-New York Red Bull 2 report, Jean-Christophe Kofi is rumored to be signing with the New York Red Bulls as transferring his homegrown rights from DC United to the New York Red Bulls, assuming there will be some kind of funny money involved in that trade. But he is a box-to-box central midfielder, something that the Red Bulls have in abundance. And I want to get your idea of what you think that means for the players that are at New York Red Bulls 2 that are desperately trying to get up to that first team. And, is Kofi somebody who's going to come up and be able to challenge for minutes at the MLS level, or is he someone who's still going to be in USL? Let's start with you, Anthony.
I think this is a clear sign that they're about to move Tyler Adams. Mm-hmm. And they're looking to bring somebody in that maybe at some point would be a replacement. I don't like it. I don't like young guys leaving, young Americans or people on this side of the world leaving for Europe. But that's me in particular. So hopefully this guy doesn't also have aspirations for Europe.
It would be amazing if at the end of the season, Tyler Adams signs a DP contract and stays in New York, but I do not see that happening.
I would love it.
Jostine, what do you think? What does this mean for guys like Andrew Tinari, Steven Echevarria, Christian Caceres Jr., and Jose Aganaga?
Well, if Adams leaves, Caceres is kind of the designated guy that a lot of people have been keeping their eye on to take his spot. So, I mean, they're going to have a spot in an RB2 that it's gonna have to be filled. But I mean, this is basically, maybe they haven't been as impressed with some of these guys as we think, and maybe it's just like, hey, we're bringing in someone in to up the competition, and this guy, is he's a box to box guy, he's talented, so I mean, I think this is somebody that we should keep our eye on.
Okay, very fair. All right, let's get the ex-New York Red Bulls 2 report out of the way, and then we're going to take a short break. Rafi Diaz, not in the 18 for Sac Republic in their win over 1868, and I'm starting to wonder if this might be the end of him in USL. We'll see. We'll see where he goes. Noah Powder, 2 games this week. He started and played 90 minutes in a 3-2 win over Portland Timbers FC2 and had the game-winning assist there, so congrats Noah Powder. And then he played 90 minutes in a 2-0 loss to Rio Grande Valley. So up and down week for him. Dan Metzger was not in the 18 for Penn FC for their 2-0 win over Ottawa, this week's opponent. Junior Flemings and Tampa Bay and Stefano Bonomo. Flemings came off the bench, played 65 minutes in a 1-1 draw with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. He came in for Stefano Bonomo, who was injured in that match, and scored a goal. Stefano only able to get 24 minutes before that injury, and hopefully he's not going to be out long. Neither of those players were in the 18 for a 2-1 loss to FCC. A controversial match that the game-winning goal scored on a penalty that was earned in a dubious manner is very clear that the player dove. But, I've said this before, maybe not even on this show, but the definition of foul is what the referee calls. So bad luck there for Tampa Bay. Brandon Allen and Nashville, he was not in the 18 for a 2-1 loss to his former team, Bethlehem Steel. Corey Herzog did not play for St. Louis in a 3-2 win over Tulsa. There's a lot of did not plays here, guys. Kyle Rainish did play for Fresno. He played 90 minutes in a 2-2 draw with Las Vegas Lights FC. Zach Carroll for 1868, he did play in that 2-1 loss to Sacramento. Started and went 90 minutes, got a yellow card. Here's a good one for you guys. Started and played 90 minutes. Conrad Pleva. Way to go, Woo! Conrad. It's good to see you back out there. He started and played 90 minutes in a 4-0 win over LA Galaxy 2. So congrats, Conrad. Speedy Williams and Louisville City. We're not going to talk about the game tonight because I didn't even get to look at the stats yet, other than Toronto FC2 wiping the floor with Louisville. But Speedy played 90 minutes in a 3-0 win over Charlotte, and did not play in a 6-0 win over Richmond. So 2 games this past week for Louisville before the loss tonight, where they combined for 9 goals and 0 against. It's pretty good. Mike DeFonta and Phoenix Rising, he did not play in either match this week. I believe he's coming back from an injury. Both those matches were 4-0 wins over San Antonio and Colorado Springs, respectively. Carl We Met, Indy 11, played 90 minutes in both of their matches this past week. A 3-2 win over TFC 2 and a 1-1 draw with Atlanta United 2. And guess what? He scored a goal. Scott Thompson, not in the 18 for the 6-0 loss to Louisville City. Hopping over the seas, Zico Lewis, he's on a new team, and I'm going to screw up the name. Kopavager. HK Kopavager. They're a second division team in Iceland. He scored for them last week. He had a brace. This week he started and played 90 minutes in a 0-0 draw with Ithrotta Bandalag Akrenis. David Abador, FC Haka. If you are a Red Bull News Network reader, you should check out a story that we did with David about a racist incident that he witnessed in that league in Finland. Anyway, he started and played 90 minutes in a 2-0 loss to HIFK Football. What a great name. Football. Tim Schmoll, Dover Athletic FC. He's playing again, and regularly. He started and played 90 minutes in a 3-0 loss to Leyton Orient. Marius Obakop with FC Zimbru Chisinau, the Moldovan National Division. I'm not sure if he played or not because there's not great record keeping on the internet for this. But his team, Zimbru Chisinau, won 1-0 over Spianta Nisporen. I hope I said that right.
Did you just say Neosporin?
Yeah,
Nisporen, yeah.
These names are just wow.
Aaron Basulovic and No Shipping Bias, the Swedish third division. He played 90 minutes in a 1-1 draw with Acropolis. And that completes the New York Red Bulls 2 report. I don't have to say Anatoly Abong on here anymore because he's with the team now. As weird as that is. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to preview the match against Ottawa and talk news and notes around the USL. Stick around. This is a long show. we're back. We're joined now by fellow RBNN writer and That's So Metro podcast co-host, Liam Pettit. Is that?
I've heard that.
Did I do that right?
With roll call in school. I heard that.
It's pronounced Pettit.
I know.
There you go.
I'm taking a good shot at him for correcting me last week when I was wrong. I pronounce things wrong every week, Liam. I'm very, very sorry.
No, I've heard the xNYRBII too for report. And yeah, it's pretty hard.
It's not good. It's not good. That's for sure. Liam, let's get some background on you. I think the listeners are curious as to your points of origin. How did you find yourself at Red Bull News Network and on this podcast at this moment?
Well, I go to a school at Iona College in New Rochelle, and I'm from Yonkers, New York. So we had like NBC coming like the following day to do some interviews for like the Maury show and like, Jerry Springer show for an internship. And one of my teachers was looking at my resume. He was like, you need to add some stuff. Like, what are you interested in? Like, I said soccer. And he was like, there's this site, blah, blah, blah. You could write for them. So I did that. It was a site about MLS. And just since last spring, I like really took that on, trying to write pretty frequently, got press passes. And, in a couple months, here I am. And, I've been a fan of the Red Bulls my whole life, and it started, going to Metro Stars games when I was little. So yeah.
Liam, you just said you were from Yonkers, which means you're by proxy half from the Bronx, which is the borough that I'm from. Yeah. So, like Iona was literally like my I went to Catholic school, and my Catholic high school was like, the pipeline for Iona. That's a huge basketball college. What was the crossover? Because we've seen a lot in the international game of basketball to soccer fans. What did you see that at the school?
What do you mean, that like the support there of the sports?
Yeah, like we tend to see a lot of basketball soccer crossover. Did you see that a lot at the school?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's a good basketball school for the area, for sure. And, people do support it. And I think there is a crossover, definitely. But, attendance isn't that great at the games. We always draw a big crowd for the Manhattan games. And I think that also kind of carries over to soccer. And, you see the similar faces, going to the basketball games and going to the soccer games, too.
What made you choose Iona as your college?
Simply just because of money. I really wanted to go to Marist College, but, it's just ridiculous. I didn't get any financial aid, really, so it would have been like $40,000 a year, and you're looking at $120,000 after 4 years, and I couldn't do that. And so I'm just, commuting to school, and, I got a scholarship and, a grant or something, so it makes it a little easier on the pocket.
And that's, such a common story for so many kids right now, having trouble trying to find finances to pay for school without destroying the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Let's turn our attention to New York Red Bulls too. This past week, probably one of the craziest games that I think that we've seen, especially in terms of the way that it ended. I just wanted to get your thoughts about like what the team looked like, maybe a little bit of what you thought of the back line, and specifically what you thought of the way that things ended.
Yeah, wow, that was a crazy game. Probably one of the most entertaining games I've seen this whole year, on all different levels of, professional sports. I think the back line is still, it's still a work in progress, and it's seeming like it's taking longer than it really should. Hassan and Dom has had a couple of rough weeks, and, looking back at some of those goals, I I can see the blame, that he could take some of the blame, especially was it the third goal right before half where he wasn't in line with Stauffer. I know the line was really high. But, it's changed. The Wallneck is putting in different guys every single week, and it's either Politz or Ackley at center back. So I just feel like continuity, especially with Red Bull 2, is always kind of going to be an issue. But, I think there's something to be said about them fighting back, coming back. And despite, the fact that on the defensive end, they've been struggling, sometimes in these games, they don't struggle to put up goals. And you saw that against Louisville, gave up 6, but they put 4 on the board. And, I think Jose Aguinaga has really stepped up in the past couple weeks. He's been exciting. And, the midfield without Christian Caceres is, a lot different. But I guess the sole bright spot in, that whole game is, just how well Tom Barlow's developing.
Fair. Very fair.
So this is a podcast, obviously, that covers a 2 team in the USL.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of debate for a long time about USL teams being independent versus 2 teams. What's your take on this? Do you think that all of these 2 teams should go down to D3, or do you think that Red Bull 2's done enough in their history, obviously winning a championship, that they should remain up here in the 2nd division?
I think obviously they can accrue the talent to be on a D2 level. I do see how they do, they have advantages over, a Charleston battery. For the time being right now, I think that it's almost imperative that, these 2 teams kind of do stay where they are right now for the betterment of MLS in a sense. If MLS doesn't hit a certain level, then I don't know how much farther the lower levels can get. And then once MLS maybe, goes up a couple notches, if you could say that, on the world level, then maybe the, D2 and D3 could follow suit, and maybe these teams can drop back down a little bit.
Obviously, you've covered, you've paid a good amount of attention to this team this year. Do you see anybody? I have 2 questions. Do you see anybody getting called up from this team at the end of this year or early next year that's on this team right now? And who is your big standout player this year?
I think I played central midfield my whole life, but I always had an affinity for wingers and appreciating what they do. And Jared Stroud is, a player that, right when he started getting a couple of minutes early on in the season and really started cementing himself in the starting lineup, I felt like he's a guy that could definitely, go up into the first team, potentially, probably next year. As far as this year goes, I guess, he signed to the first team, but Christian Caceres, I would like to see him get, a start. I would like to see him get, some minutes off the bench for the first team. So Stroud would probably be my guy, but I also very much appreciated Brian White and his versatility. He pretty much impressed me every single game he played, and I think he thoroughly deserved that signing and getting some minutes with the first team.
And we could be looking at him potentially starting this week, tomorrow against Houston. So keep an eye out for that. Liam, before we let you go, we're going to have to subject you, like we subject all, to the lightning round. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Popcorn, yes or no?
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Neither. I don't watch that.
Wow.
There's so much swagger with these answers. I love it.
You are fired.
Marvel or DC?
Would I be crazy to say neither for both too? Like I just never was a super. Like I was never into that.
Wow.
You better
sports and
say
stuff.
your response answer
if I had
better
to
be
pick-
like Vertigo or something.
If I had to pick, if I had to pick, I guess I would say Marvel.
Okay. Your favorite team to play as in FIFA?
So, growing up, like everybody I played used to be terrible, and recently, like my favorite team was using like the Qatar League, and I would use this team called El Shabab. They had a couple of Brazilian players, so that would be my team.
Nice. Very nice.
Great. That's great.
You got any others?
New one this week: Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild or Skyrim HD.
He's about to slap us down again. You know that, right?
What would make you happy, Anthony? Because I don't have a preference.
What would make me happy is if you, as a soccer writer and minor league soccer journalist, tell me that you're also a nerd like us.
No.
Sadly, I'm not. But Zelda, I'll say Zelda because he's in Smash, right? And I think I've used him a couple of times.
Oh, there you go. You're a smasher. Okay, cool.
All right,
Joe, wait, Justine. Before you ask yours, no. Go ahead. I'll let you do that first.
No. You go.
No.
Sure,
Please. Go ahead. Ask.
Okay. Favorite team that's not New York Red Bulls?
Glasgow Celtic.
There you go. Okay, I just had the best idea, Anthony. We have been completely spinning our wheels trying to get this soccer showdown going. We're going to have to check with the other RBNN writers, but I think we should do a short-sighted match with the two of us as captains.
Oh, I actually like this idea.
Wait, managers or captains
No,
on
captains.
the field?
I'm going to be playing. I don't know about you, but...
All right, I'm getting a red by sliding into you, right?
That's a lot of weight to fall down on you. You better think of that.
I didn't say I was going to pull it down, but I'm going studs up.
Okay, that's good. All right, Liam, you have passed the lightning round. We are definitely going to organize this match. Will you be part of it over break? What do you think?
I would love it.
Yes.
I would love to meg you guys.
Yes, this will be great.
It'll be on turf.
We're going to turn this into some
That's
kind
fine
of.
with me.
We'll turn this into some kind of fundraising thing for some kind of worthy cause. Liam,
Great.
thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. See you guys.
And when we come back, we're going to be previewing the match against Ottawa and talking news and notes around the USL. So stick around. And we're back. We're going to preview the match against Ottawa. What was I about to call them? Ottawa FC. Ottawa Fury. This Friday night at MSU Soccer
The Ottawa
Park.
Senators.
The Ottawa Senators are playing. Ottawa, they are breathing down the New York Red Bulls to neck. They are 10, 12, and 5 on the season. 1-3-1 over the last 5, though, so not great. At home, 7-5-3. Away, 3-7-2. So not great on the road. But guess what, guys? That one of those 3 wins was a big one against the New York Red Bulls, too. In their last 5 matches, they have 1 win against Richmond, 3 losses against Nashville, Bethlehem, and Penn FC, and a draw against Indy 11. One of my favorite all-time USL players, Steven Dos Santos, is one of their leading goal scorers. All 3 of these guys have 4 goals each. Steven Dos Santos, Tony Taylor, and Kevin Oliveira. Steven Dos Santos also the assist leader with 4. Look, this is not a great team, but they can be stout defensively. Things have been not great for them. We talked about the last time they were at MSU Soccer Park. I'm going to say his name wrong. Adonijah?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Adonijah Reed. He had a hat trick in that match. Those are his only 3 goals of the season. Oh man, weird times. But they got all over the Red Bulls with their counterattack, and it's hard to see anything else happening this time out, especially with the way that they played against Charleston. They are 1 point behind the Red Bulls, 36 points to the Red Bulls 37, although the Red Bulls do have a game in hand. The Red Bulls had a great chance to kind of create some distance, but went 1-1 over their last homestand, and now with so few home games left, how critical is this match, and can they stop Ottawa from repeating a performance like they did earlier this season? Let's start with you, Joe.
They're going to have to defend better than they did in that game earlier this season, as we know. They've actually never beaten this team at Montclair, if you believe it or not. So, yeah, this is probably the most crucial game they've had up to date. I mean, the Louisville game was a big game, and we saw how that turned out, unfortunately. They're going to have to come out and pretty much just blitz them from the start like they've done to a lot of teams this year. They're going to have to be better defensively. We don't know what the team's going to look like. I mean, Caceres could be with the first team tomorrow night. So, I mean, they're basically going to have to win this game. They can't draw it. They can't lose it. So this is a game where they're going to have to be, they're going to have to shake off the poor performances. They're going to have to be disciplined defensively. They're going to have to talk a lot. And I know they do have some, Barlow's back, Moreno's back, which helps them offensively, but it's really going to come down to if they can hold this team off the board.
And I mean, look at the body of the work that they've put out. The last time that the Red Bulls had a shutout, do you want to guess when that was? When was the last time the Red Bulls kept the other team from scoring?
Probably
last
Ottawa.
year.
No, it was probably Ottawa. The Ottawa game,
yes.
where the camp game.
Camp game. Wednesday, May 2nd. It's been since May since they've shut a team out. That's unreal. And over the last 3 matches, they've given up 12 goals. Anthony, what kind of optimism should Red Bulls have that they can keep Ottawa off the board?
None. I don't think that for the rest of this year, it's about, like, if you're asking me, like, can they win? The answer is yes, by outscoring the opposition. But if you're asking me, what can they do to win this game with a clean sheet? I don't think there is anything they can do.
All right, fair. That's a very fair take. We're still... we got to see a lot of Alan Giannis recently. I thought he's done well. Had a nice assist in the Charleston game. We still have not seen Lombard, and I'm very, very surprised about that. And given the way that this team has struggled defensively to kind of figure out who they are and how they're going to play in the back, you would hope that consistency would start to creep into the lineup, but we haven't seen it. It hasn't.
You're waiting on Tommy Redding.
He's out for the season, so that is not going to happen. There's a lot of big question marks around this team right now, defensively, and I think no small part of that is getting Christian Caceres back into the lineup because he helped a lot in breaking up some of those counterattack opportunities when plays would fail in the offense or the defensive side. I said the right way the first time. In the offensive side of the field, things are a little bit rough there. But all right, let's get predictions for Friday night. Joe,
I'm gonna go 3-2 Red Bulls 2.
Anthony.
I'm going to go 2-1 Red Bulls 2 and have some optimism that they will only allow 1 goal.
Oh, I'm going to agree with Anthony, I think, on this one, and hope for the 1 goal defensive performance. It's 2-1. But all 3 of us picked the Red Bulls to win, so surely they will lose. Moving on, let's talk playoffs. Playoffs? We're in the nitty-gritty now. Obviously, there's still almost 10 games left to play for some of these clubs, but I want to look at basically the 3 teams closest to the line and the 3 teams above the line in the Eastern Conference, and just kind of gauge if you think these guys can make the playoffs. Bethlehem Steel, by the way, all the way up to 5th place right now. They're on a good run, and maybe even climbing higher by weekend's end. But
just like Philly.
Yeah, just like Philly, who is not too shabby. And I think a lot of the people that are hoping that DC is going to make a big run with all these home games left, they have a lot of really tough teams to play, including Philly, who's been really, really good of late. Corey Burke doing well there, former BST striker. Okay, so 6th. We've got Indy 11. They've played 25 matches, 40 points. 7th, New York Red Bulls 2, 26 matches, 37 points. 8th, Nashville SC, 36 points. Oh, you know what? I said Ottawa had 36. They have 35. That's my fault.
Nashville won tonight, though, so they're up. They moved up.
Maybe that was it. Okay. I still have the point totals wrong, but I thought that Ottawa was up there. Ottawa is in 9th place, 27 matches played, 35 points. So obviously a disadvantage there. North Carolina FC, 25 matches, 34 points. Penn FC, 24 matches, 29 points. I guess, no, I'm keeping Charlotte out of there because they've just been so bad of late. If you had to pick 2 teams going up and 2 teams going down from that group, who is it? Let's start with you, Anthony.
Hey.
All right, the 3 teams on top.
I'm gonna be honest. I just don't know. Like, I feel like all of those teams are interchangeable, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
At this point, considering their run of form, so it's really hard to. I mean, I would literally be throwing a dart at a board to say which ones would be up versus down.
Okay, well, throw that dart. Just say yes or no. Indy 11.
No.
Justine, Indy 11.
Yes, I think they're interchangeable.
No, not if they're interchangeable or not, but if they're going to be above the playoff line season's end.
Yes, I'll say they'll be there.
All right, Anthony says no. Joe says yes. I'm not ready to commit. Okay, New York Red Bulls 2. Anthony.
Yes.
Okay, Joe.
Yes.
All right. I agree. I think they should be able to make the playoffs, but I think it's going to be in that 7th or 8th spot. It's going to be hold your butt at the end of the season. Nashville SC, Anthony.
No.
Okay. Joe.
I'm going to say yes.
Oh, interesting. I think I agree with Anthony on this one. I'm not sold on them. I think they can do some good stuff, but against the better teams, I'm not really seeing them be able to take care of business. Ottawa, Anthony.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna let you know that I think you've said no for 3 of these teams. So just so you know, you have to say yes to the other 2 teams that we're going to bring up.
Okay, sure.
Okay, Justine.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off. They're not bad, but I think they're going to need help to do it. North Carolina FC, Joe, Anthony. Yes.
Yes.
Joe.
No.
Okay, now Joe, I think you've used up all your no's as well, right?
No, I've used up all my yeses, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, all 3 teams above the line you say are yeses?
Yep, I think I don't really see anybody moving up or down.
Interesting.
Changing positions, but I don't really think they're going to fall out.
I do believe that North Carolina has a better setup to be a playoff team. I think they have more experience. I think that they have the right coaching. I'm all about North Carolina making the playoffs.
Okay. That would be very fun. And then Penn FC. I guess we have your answers about these. We don't really have to say, but
for me, they don't have enough. Like I just think they've come on a little bit of late, but I don't see them moving up enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've had some results, but they're still not that great. They had 3 losses in a row with New York Red Bulls 2, Cincinnati, and Richmond. Those first 2, you could say, all right, those are teams that are better than them, and they should lose to them. But losing to Richmond is a bad sign. They did.
They're a boring 8th place team.
Yeah. Well, 11th place.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. one other team we did not touch on is not far below Penn FC, sitting in 13th place, just 1 point back, is Tampa Bay. And I think a lot of us thought that they were going to either be in the number 1 or number 2 spot heading into the season. Can they turn it around enough to make the playoffs? Is that insane?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, what, have they played 25 games right now?
Yeah, they've got 25.
Yeah, they're what are they, 9 points out right now? Oof. I mean, 7 or 6 if they win. There's too many teams in front of them. I mean, I think they've that team's been they've undergone so many changes this year that I mean, I just don't think it's enough. They have enough this year. I mean, we don't know how long Bonomo's out or not. And I think it's just been, the coaching change, injuries have really hurt them this year. David the Gem going down and the midfield being hurt this year. I just don't think there's enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anthony, any hope for them?
I don't think so, but I will say this is one of the biggest sob stories in USL because going into this year, I thought that they were favorites to win the whole thing.
And they started off, I thought, pretty well. And then
they did, and then they went to Red Bull Arena.
They went to Red Bull Arena, and everything came crashing down. I feel bad for them, but I think you guys are right. It's wipe the slate clean on this season, and then just see what pieces you've got to build around next season. Okay, that brings us to the end of another episode of Raising Bulls. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, I'm at _Joe Goldstein.
Yeah, and just don't follow me.
Oh, I love you, Anthony. Joe?
I am at JSteen15.
And if you'd like to follow the show, and we hope you do, we are at Raising Bull Cast. That's one bull, Raising Bull Cast. And of course, that's on Twitter, where you better not follow Anthony, according to Anthony. Facebook.com/Raising Bulls. You can find us there. All our episodes go up there. They also go up on RaisingBulls.com, where you can send us emails for questions. We don't get very many questions, but if you want to send us them, it goes to questions@RaisingBulls.com. That's questions@RaisingBulls.com. Where can they send us emails, Joe?
Questions@RaisingBulls.com.
There you go. That's perfect. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Find us, rate us, review us. It helps. It means everything, and we really do need it. And Anthony, I'm going to say, after a very fine performance on this episode, #Merced_in.
Look at you sucking up to me.
I'm working on your image. I told you at the top of the show.
Oh, trust me, I'm doing everything to tear it back down.
Oh, I'm gonna try, Anthony.
I shouldn't be surprised, but
Do they know I also write for NYCFC?
I think that's okay. I don't think that if you are a fan that is upset that a writer writes about more than one team, even if they're rival teams, then I don't know what you're doing, guys. Anyway. You can find us at bgn.fm. That's the Beautiful Game Network. They've got a ton of great shows and now written content on their blog. But you can go and listen to the USL show, Mongols, St. Louis Soccer Report, Backchat, Tornado Alley, LWSC, Play the Kids, 6 Point Weekend, Speedway Soccer. I'm going all the way down the list this time. Down the Valley, Texas Soccer Radio, Backyard Footy, Foxtrot, Bethlehem Blast Furnace, Sock Takes, and Rising as one. A ton of shows about all kinds of USL teams. If you want to know about USL, listen to the shows on the Beautiful Game Network. They do a great job of covering so many teams in the league. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. For myself, Joe Steen, Anthony Merced, and Liam Pettit, thank you very much, and have a great night.